Hi, my name is Ted Pavlic, and I'm a faculty member here at Arizona State University in the School of Sustainability and the School of Complex Adaptive Systems. And I'd like to talk to you about a term, tipping points, that comes up when we think about both complex adaptive systems and sustainability. This is a term that is very popular. It's sold millions of books like the one that you see here on the screen, but is a term that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. And I want to explain to you what a tipping point really is with respect to problems related to sustainability. And for me to kind of define that, before I go into a more abstract definition, let's sort of concentrate on something a little bit more concrete. And a lot of times, one of our favorite examples comes from thinking about fisheries. And so we're talking about, a small managed body of water that has a number of fish in it that are being harvested for human use. And the question is, how much harvesting can they sustain in order to guarantee that there's always going to be fish in that fishery for long periods of time? So in order for us to think about this problem, we have to think about how fish reproduce. And so we end up drawing these fancy diagrams when we model these sorts of things. And these diagrams basically represent, well, this is how much fish that's in the fishery. And this is a process that there's some math behind the scenes, but it basically represents that there's a feedback process where the number of fish in the fishery helps eventually determine the number of new fish that are going to be in the fishery. And so you can imagine that once you have a lot of fish in the fishery, it's going to be hard for those fish to get enough food and they're going to stop growing. But if you have very few fish in the fishery, then those fish are going to have plenty of food around them and they'll grow very rapidly. And so we can end up modeling that with these curves, these sort of regeneration curves over here. And so you got fish density over here, and you got how fast those fish are regenerating here. So like I was just saying, at low densities over here, you've got this kind of exponential growth where every fish has got enough access to food that they can reproduce unlimited. And that ends up one fish becomes two fish become four, and so on and so forth. But then once you get a lot of fish in the fishery, then what happens there is the fish start competing for food. And so you might be able to have an offspring, but offspring might not be able to survive unless one of the parents, dies. And so that is an example where the denser and denser it gets, the more and more pressure there is, and it's more and more difficult for the fish to grow. And so that's kind of this curve here. And this is a kind of standard curve that we get whenever there are finite resources available. And so if you've heard the term carrying capacity, that is all about riding this curve down here. Now, this is a very interesting curve, this hump-shaped curve, because if we think about what happens as we start fishing in such a fishery, then we have to think about where we are on this curve and where we're going to be after we do the fishing. So let's give that some thought. And this idea of tipping points is going to come into play. So the idea here is, initially when no one's fishing, you're going to be starting up here and there's going to be a lot of fish in the fishery. It's going to be very high density. So you end up fishing, and as you fish, you reduce the number of fish in the fishery and it goes to lower densities. And so you start out at some high density, you increase your fishing, and that reduces the density. And the fish that had a hard time regenerating when it was so dense because there was so little food available now find themselves in a position where there's a lot less dense. There's more food available to them, and they have an easier time reproducing. And this is actually great for fishing because as you fish, then the fish end up being able to reproduce more and replenish the fish that you just fished out of. This is kind of like living off the interest in your bank account. Just so long as you don't spend the amount of interest you made the last year, then you're sort of guaranteed in the next year to have the same amount of interest or more available for you to spend in the next year. So long as you just keep spending the interest, you don't ever cause your so-called principal to decline. And that allows you to maintain this bank account effectively forever. And that's the way we like these fisheries to last too. We don't want to get to a point where we fish them to the point where the fish can't keep up with us, and then gradually we start eating into the principle there. But that's what ends up happening if you're not careful. Because if you keep fishing, you move into this low density area. And so in this area, you might start up here and you do a little bit of fishing. So you take some fish out of the fishery, and the fish that were regenerating at a high rate up here because there were a lot of fish now start regenerating at a much lower rate just because there's a lot less fish. And so you've now fished at the fishery when it had a high regeneration rate, and you've now put the fishery into a lower regeneration rate. And now that it's in this lower regeneration rate, it actually can lead you to massive overfishing if you continue to fish at this level. So up here, you might have been able to fish and get a lot of fish out of there, but down here, they're regenerating even slower. And so if you fish at the same rate you were fishing up here, then you will see an even larger decline in the number of fish. So you kind of never ever want to be fishing in a fishery when you're at this kind of bottom half of the density here. This is the principal in the bank account. Up here, this is the interest in the bank account, and you really only want to be taking the interest out of the bank account. You never want to be taking anything out of your principal in the bank account if you want this thing to last forever. And this point in between here is an example of what we call a tipping point. And so this tipping point that we get to here, this represents a boundary between these regimes, which is, if we ever cross that boundary, we will actually have done so much harm to the fishery that we, in order to repair the fishery, will actually have to back off to low levels of fishing that we have never had to do before in order to get the fishery to regenerate. We can't just simply back up and say, oh, we were fishing at some level and we happened to overfish. Oops, too much. Let's just go back to the old level because we knew the old level was sustainable. Once you cross a tipping point, levels that used to be sustainable will not be sustainable anymore. New levels that are even lower will end up being the sustainable levels, and you might actually have to totally back off and not use the resource for huge amounts of time to get them to recover. How do we sort of make sense of that? Well, what we do and what you learn how to do in some of the coursework that we teach is you learn how to build simulation models like this one. I won't go into the details on it. And they produce these behavior over time plots that look like this one. And so what you've seen here is I've got fish stock that's coming out of a simulated fishery here, and that's coming up here. And then you've got down here, you've got the catch that is being caught by a number of ships at sea, and that ships of sea is represented down here. And the new fish per year, the regeneration rate, that's this curvy line here. And so in this case, when you only have this number of ships at sea, then you come to some equilibrium where the number of fish you pull out gets balanced by the increasing number regeneration rate you get from the fish that are currently in there. So this represents a sustainable outcome. And it's sustainable because the amount of fish you're pulling out is balanced by the amount of fish the current fish are putting right back in. So that's great. So because you see that's a sustainable outcome, you think, well, maybe we can fish a little bit more. So you end up putting more boats into the fishery. So you increase the number of boats here, and that's going to increase, excuse me, the number of catch that's going into those boats. But because you're in that good region of that regeneration curve, then the fish regenerate faster and they end up catching up to the increased number of catch. And so this too is a sustainable outcome. So this is good. The problem comes right after this. In other words, how far can this go? How many ships can we add until we end up experiencing a problem? And that problem occurs, again, when you start at a high density, you fish, you get moving into gradually move to lower densities, but at those lower densities, the fish reproduce at a higher rate. You end up fishing a little bit more, that pushes them to even lower densities, but that's okay, they move at a higher rate, so everything's fine. But if you keep increasing the amount of boats you add to the fishery, you keep pulling more fish out of the fishery, then a crazy thing happens. You end up fishing at a rate that the fishery cannot ever produce. There's no way that it can replenish you. And so there's going to be a decrease in the density. And on top of that, the new regeneration rate is going to be even lower than the previous regeneration rate it was when you started fishing. And that's going to make the problem accelerate so that you get an even lower density of fish at an even lower regeneration rate. So if you keep fishing at this high rate up here, this is just going to keep getting faster and faster and faster until all the fish go extinct. And so that's kind of what we want to avoid. We want to avoid violating this maximum sustainable yield. We never want to ask the fishery for larger than this rate, which occurs at roughly half the density, half the carrying capacity in that fishery right there. So this is the maximum rate that we could ever possibly catch to be sustainable. If we ever ask for more than that, then we are going to guarantee that our fishery is going to land itself into this kind of area here where we're burning off our principal. And what's going to happen there is that even if we shift back to a previous harvest level, then our fishery is not going to be able to deal with that previously sustainable level, and it will continue to decline. So let's see what I mean by that. So what's going to happen here is once you reach your maximum sustainable yield, then this up here, again, remember this catch here is higher than the maximum sustainable yield. So even though you're pulling out all of these fish, the fish cannot replenish. And so you end up getting this regeneration rate that just keeps falling and falling and falling. And as that regeneration rate gets farther and farther than the harvest rate, the catch that you're pulling out, then the fish stock just gets lower and lower and lower, eventually till it will eventually hit extinction. Someone will suggest that maybe we just go back to the number of ships at sea we had right here, because that was sustainable. Remember, out here, this level of ships at sea was totally sustainable. But when we go back to that level of ships at sea, now that we're in this danger zone where we're burning off our principal, the previous fishery that could keep up can't keep up with us at even this low harvest rate here. And it just keeps declining more and more and more. So we cannot rescue sustainability even with the same number of boats that we used to be able to use. Pretty much at this point, because we've crossed into this danger region where we're burning off the principal in our bank account, the only thing we can do is stop spending and wait for our principal to build back up and build back up and build back up to the point where the interest is enough for us to harvest again and just be happy with that interest. So that really is what we mean by a tipping point. In the fishery system, the maximum sustainable yield represents that tipping point. So this is the maximum number of fish I could ever ask to come out of that fishery. And so at this instant in time, this is when the fishery reached the tipping point. And after that time, then we have to operate the fishery different than we did before. That's what makes tipping points so scary, is that policies that worked in the past stop working because we've broken the system so bad that they need therapy before we can even start using them the same way we did before. So that's the reason why we want to try to avoid these tipping points, because if we don't, we have to go to drastic measures. Like in a fishery, you got to remove all of the boats and just wait. And that's extremely costly, but it's the only thing we can do to guarantee the fishery will regenerate that number of fish so we can use it again sometime in the future. So where does this term tipping point come from? Well, I like to make the analogy of a refrigerator. So imagine a refrigerator sitting there. It's sitting on a platform. It's perfectly stable on that platform. If you nudge that refrigerator just a little, so you just kind of tilt the platform a little bit, it's still stable. It stays in that position there. And if you nudge it a little bit, it might tilt a little bit, but it'll still stay stable at that particular angle. So if I nudge it, it's still safe, even at this angle there. So just as a review, when it's horizontal, I nudge it a little bit, it stays upright. I tilt it a little bit, I nudge it a little bit, it still stays upright at an angle, but a little bit upright. Eventually, I tilt that platform so that the center of gravity of that refrigerator is right over the corner of that refrigerator. At this point, it's staying upright. But if I were to nudge that refrigerator just a little, then it is going to tip right on over. Now you say, okay, that's fine. The refrigerator's on its side at this particular angle. Well, maybe I can fix the problem just by leveling the floor. But if you level the floor, the refrigerator stays on its side. The only way you can get this refrigerator back up and running is to not just level the floor, but tilt it the opposite way to a huge amount until you can finally get that refrigerator upright again. And so, and then on top of that, if we go into actually refrigerator stuff, the coolant and all those sorts of things, usually have to leave after you tilt a refrigerator over, you usually got to leave it sitting there for 24 to 48 hours before you can even use it again. So it was really bad to get that refrigerator on its side. And the only way we could repair the refrigerator was actually to go in the opposite direction as our initial tilt in order to get it back up and running, so that we could restore its old operation. So the tipping point in this point was the angle, the floor angle, just before the refrigerator was at the point where if you nudge it, it flips over. And these tipping points were originally envisioned as, as glasses of wine as the models for this idea, and that a glass of wine operates the same sort of way. You get it at a critical angle, and if you happen to nudge that little glass of wine, it's going to flip right over, and all the wine is going to spill. And so in this particular case, if you tilt the wine glass back up to get it level again, it might be a functional wine glass, but that wine is gone. You're just going to have to wipe it up and throw it away. You're never going to get the wine back into the bottle. So tipping points are often associated with irreversibility, and that is super scary in terms of sustainability. And what's super scary is the models that I've shown you that demonstrate that our work for a simple harvested fishery like I had earlier. Those same types of models show up all over the place when we model lots of processes all over the earth with respect to, say, global temperatures. Those temperatures are like the angles underneath the refrigerator, like the harvest rate in the fishery. Those temperatures have tipping points. And some of those tipping points mark irreversibility, which means if you manage to get the earth that hot, you might melt all of the ice. And simply bringing the earth back to the temperatures of today is not going to put the ice back. You'd have to take the earth's temperature and make it way colder than it is today to come anywhere close to bringing the ice back. And the ice you get back would not be the same ice that's there today. Irreversibility. That is a game changer. Irreversibility. We do not want to hit that. And that's why tipping points are so important. And that's why we really want to understand that tipping points are not something as simple as, oh, this is an action that causes a change that, well, if I just end up taking the old action, it'll change right back. Some people mistake that for a tipping point, like the point at which something changes. But it's a tipping point really when you've reached a point where something changes and flipping back across that tipping point doesn't change it back. That's what a tipping point is. Think of the wine glass, the angle at which if the wine glass tips over, you set the wine glass back up and the wine is not in the wine glass anymore. So I've mentioned tipping points apply to climate change. They also can apply to political instability. If you make people upset, they might revolt. And at the instant they revolt, you might go back and say, okay, I'm sorry, here's the thing that you wanted. But once the revolution has begun, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. It's reached a tipping point. That's another example of that. But it's not all bad. There can be good tipping points too. You can convince people, you put a lot of advertising pressure into getting people to, I don't know, not smoke or something like that. And if you can manage to get people to change cultural norms so that maybe they don't smoke, or maybe they have a different attitude towards bottled water or whatever you pick there, then once you change things in the culture, you can back off the advertising pressure. You don't have to put up all those ugly ads, and people might stay in their new norm. And so that's an example of a good tipping point where just a little bit of an investment causes people to switch. And when you get rid of the investment, they stay switched. So there can be a lot of other examples of this, and we always are looking for tipping points in these systems. And if you take our classes, then you learn about tools that we use, like this colorful thing called a bifurcation diagram, where it's a ways in which we can take that fishery and we can represent all possible states that could come out of that fishery and how we get from one state to another, and whether there are special state transitions that are indicated to be these tipping points. And those are the types of things that I'm not going to talk about here in this little intro, but if you're interested more in that, then please come and talk to us, and it'd be great to chat about the methods that you would learn if you're interested in taking courses in sustainability and complex adaptive systems. So meanwhile, look out for those tipping points. Stay safe.